Hey everyone, my name is Matt Nations. I'm on staff down at a church in Fort Myers, Florida called Riverside Church. And we're actually partnered with Holy Cross with you guys and good friends with Chris and Catherine and in a network of churches all around the country trying to go after making disciples. And so Catherine asked me if I would come on and just share a little bit today with you guys about how to ask good questions. And so first off, thank you, Catherine, for having me, for asking me. And I hope this is helpful for you guys. This is a key topic, I think, as a disciple maker, as I think it's just a good skill to have in life, how to ask good questions. I think we've all been there and had a moment or a conversation where I learned that conversations are like tennis. They're like the game of tennis. And, I ask a question and I hit a ball over, and then you ask a question and you hit it back. And then I ask a question, right? All of us have been in a conversation where we're hitting the ball over the net and it's not coming back. This is the hope to avoid that kind of lack of tennis playing and the ball not coming back. Our hope is to be able to volley well and volley deep. And so I think asking questions is a skill that can be learned. And so I'd love for you, just before we get started, think about a skill that you're really, really good at. Maybe it's knitting, or maybe it's pickleball, maybe it is tennis, maybe it's golf or a job skill, whatever it is. Think about, how did you learn that skill? What was it like? What was the process of getting really good at a skill? Did it happen overnight? Did it happen in 2 weeks or 2 years or 10 years, right? I know for me, I grew up playing soccer, and my right foot was always pretty good, but my left foot was nowhere near where it needed to be to play at a top level. And so I remember I had to put a lot of work into hitting the ball against the wall, and practice, practice, practice. But when I did, I saw the fruit of it, and my left foot got better. And this is the same thing in asking questions. Some people are just amazing and they're gifted at this, and they've just always been really, really good at asking questions. This wasn't the case for me. I really had to learn at this and practice and struggle a little bit. But now I feel like I'm pretty good at asking questions, but it's because of a couple tools, a couple little resources that I'm going to share with you guys today about how to ask some good questions. And hopefully with some practice, I think that you guys can volley well and volley deep in the conversations. And I think it will really help your discipleship. And so first, I want to talk about, why are asking questions good? Where does this play into discipleship? And I think if you've read the New Testament at all, you've read the part that explicitly talks about Jesus and his life, you will quickly see that questions are a key tool in his tool belt that he uses when he walks around and interacts with people and he's making disciples. He is a great question asker. He's the master. And so much so, I love moments where people are asking him questions and he even answers with questions. He doesn't even answer it. And so I love looking at the types of questions that he asks and learning from them. And I think there's 3 things that I've really leaned into. Jesus communicates a lot of different things, but 3 that I see clearly through scripture. He always is communicating. I see you, I hear you, and I know you. I see you, I hear you, and I know you. These are deep emotional things that he's communicating. And many times he does it by asking questions. You think about the woman at the well and asking, go get your husband. Where is he? And oh, I don't have one. I've actually had 5, right? He's communicating. I know you. I see you. Even go back to the garden, right? He pursues relationship even after the fall and says, Adam, where are you? Come back. This is a processing question of, I see you. I know where you're at. I want you to come and draw near and draw close. So anytime that you guys can ask questions that communicate, I see you, I hear you, I know you, those are fantastic questions to press into, and I think are really helpful for discipleship. 2 questions specifically. These are questions that you have to answer if you're going to make disciples. I have to know, where are you at? How can I help you take your next step? Where are you at? How can I help you take your next step? If I'm discipling you, I can't do that until I first figure out where you're at. And if I do, I'm just going to be discipling based on my assumptions of where you're at. And most of the time, I've found out in my life, when I'm working off assumptions, at least 80% I'm wrong. And so I really have to take the time and stay curious. We say that a lot here with our team. Stay curious, stay curious. When you think you know, ask 2 more questions. dive deeper and really find out what's underneath and what's going on. I want to tell you a quick story of how this really helped and not lead into my assumptions. There's a guy who walked into our church, and he came here and just kind of getting to know him. Hey, where are you from? What do you do? That kind of thing. And he said that he was a student pastor at a different church prior to, but now is selling insurance and in the business world. And so I'm talking to him and I'm kind of thinking, okay, great. You were a student pastor, so you're clearly a believer and you're, walking this stuff out. And by asking questions, we started asking questions and stuff didn't add up, starting to say, man, when did you cross the line of faith? What did that look like meeting Jesus? And he's like, well, I just kind of go to church, and we just started questioning a little bit more. And it wasn't kind of lining up to what I assumed from somebody who is a student pastor, right? Long story short, we find out asking this guy, man, how do you get to heaven? What would you say? Like if somebody said, how do you get to heaven? How do you be saved? And he was like, man, I don't know. That's a good question. And what I found out by staying curious and asking questions is, long story short, this guy wasn't a believer. He didn't even know how to follow Jesus. He never had a moment where he crossed the line of faith. He actually grew up in that church. They just had seen him a lot, and they put him in a position of maturity without actually asking questions to find out if he's spiritually mature. This is a big problem. Like if we're putting people into places of leadership, whether it's in our groups or over people, helping them disciple people, and they're not spiritually mature, then that's going to lead to a lot of hurt and a lot of mess. And so we have to, as disciple makers, figure out first, where are they at? And then how can I help them take their next step? So questions like this, ask a lot of spiritually, just talking about, man, what's your time like with Jesus? What do you do when you spend together? Or asking each week I get with some guys and talking about what's Jesus revealing to you? What's he convicting? What's he challenging you? Tell me about that. Like, where did that come from? So spending the time to really find out where are they at with their walk with the Lord, where are they at walking that out with others is going to be vitally important for you guys as disciple makers. I want to kind of lead into some ways to practice this, some key questions. I want to walk through some good questions that I've found have been really helpful in small group as well as discipleship. So here's a couple. First one is, what have you been thinking a lot about recently? Here's the thing. People love to talk about themselves. They love to talk about what's going on in their life, but a lot of times they just need to be invited. And so that's a question that if it's something I've been thinking about a lot, I've probably put a ton of time and energy into it. And it's probably something really close to me, close to who I am, at least this past week or two that it's been on my heart. And so when I ask that, just random people I meet or guys I'm getting with, or maybe an icebreaker at group, man, what have you been thinking about recently? Helps me kind of get to know where you at, what are you processing in your brain and your heart and your soul, and how can I then lead into that? Then I would say, man, tell me more. Tell me more is a fantastic question to kind of lead and draw more out of people. Tell me more about that, man. Where did that come from? Or how did that start? Or when was the first time that you did that experience, or whatever it was? Next one is, who has made a big impact on you? Think about if I was sitting with you right now and I said, man, tell me about somebody who's made a big impact on you in your life, maybe spiritually or maybe relationally or growing up, maturity wise. Tell me somebody who's had a big impact. That's probably a special person in your life. I know for me, it's a very special person that immediately I think about. His name's Craig Naylor, and he's the guy who really ultimately led me to Jesus. And so right there, one simple question, who's made a big impact on you? You really are going to get to the heart of somebody and something that really matters to them and they care about a lot. So anytime we can find questions that really unpacks the layers, gets past the surface, is going to be really, really helpful in discipleship, in life, in conversation, to really help your conversations go deeper. Here's another one. Where does that come from? I use this a lot in small group. So when I'm leading small group and we throw out a question and somebody answers, maybe at a 2 or 3 on the deep level, they're not quite deep, but they're getting there. They start to share something. I said, man, where does that come from? What you're dealing with? Maybe somebody says, hey, I wrestle with some anger. Cool. I appreciate you bringing that. Where does that come from for you? When you're in those spots, where does that come from? And just the other day in group, I was asking this, and somebody, just opened way up, more than I ever thought they would. But he started, I said, where does that come from? And he goes, man, you know what? I didn't have a dad growing up. And I think that lack of a dad is really fleshing out in this way in my life. And that led to a great opening that we were able to walk through and talk through and go have coffee later. So, man, anytime somebody's sharing, I get this a lot from group leaders. How do I help people go that step deeper? Fantastic question. Where does that come from? Tell me more about that. Those are great questions to help them go deeper. I want to give you a cool game that I think you guys can play. I talked about kicking the ball against the wall when I was trying to get better at soccer. Here's kind of a kick the ball against the wall game for asking questions. Find a spouse, a friend, a neighbor, whoever you want, maybe somebody in your group. Maybe you guys split up into pairs of twos and play this in your next group. It'd be great. Here's the game. You get to ask as many questions as you want. You get a couple minutes to do this. The goal is you have to start with the question, what's your favorite food? So start with, I'm asking you, what's your favorite food? And maybe you say, man, Matt, my favorite food is crab legs, right? Okay. Then I get to ask another question. That's all you can say. You just stop there. I get to keep asking questions. And the goal is to see how long it takes and how do you get to navigate a simple question. What's your favorite food? Crab legs. Nothing deep about that. I learned a simple fact about you, but nothing deep. How do you take a simple fact like that and try to find something that connects it a little deeper where I get to know you? And here's how this might play out. Maybe I might say, man, tell me about the best time you ever had crab legs. You might be like, man, I was on this cruise and it was amazing. And they served crab legs and I just kept eating and eating and eating. It was awesome, delicious, really tender crab legs. Man, that's awesome. Who was on that cruise with you? Oh, me and my wife, we were on this cruise and it was our 20th anniversary. Oh, that's awesome. Man, 20 years. Tell me the secret to 20 years. Me and my wife, we've been married 8 years. I want to get married. I want to stay married for 20 and 40 and 60. Tell me the secret of 20 years in marriage. You can see where this is going. I take a simple question of what's your favorite food? Crab legs. I start to tie it to a moment in your life, find out who's in those key moments with you, and then find out some wisdom from you that you might be able to share with me about marriage. And so practice this game, try it with, again, with spouse, friend, neighbor, whoever you want to try this with. Just know it will be hard the first couple times. It will be awkward. There's lots of pauses. Don't worry about that. Just push through the pauses. Take as much time as you need to come up with the questions. You'll get better at it, but it's a fantastic game to try to figure out how to learn to ask good questions, and you'll get better and better and better. So practice this stuff, ask questions, ask for feedback. Lastly, there's a great resource. It's called Asking Powerful Questions. It's a great book on how to ask good questions, ask powerful questions, and start good conversations. And so here's my prayer for you guys, that you guys, as you guys are pursuing the mission that God's called us to, so we're here to make disciples of Jesus. And so as you are doing that, as you're answering that call and getting with other men and other women, that you would learn how to ask these questions that really help you communicate to these people. I see you, I hear you, and I know you. Jesus did this all the time. He's the greatest disciple maker that I know, and we just want to follow what he did. So good luck asking powerful questions. I hope this is helpful. Y'all take care.